years and years, and you get the point. The Jets have been among the worst franchises in the NFL. This season, they officially hit rock bottom. Gang Green went 2-14 in 2020, with Sam Darnold regressing significantly, defensive coordinator Greg Williams getting fired mid-season after a terrible meltdown against the Raiders, and Adam Gase finally getting the boot after the season ended. Simply put, the Jets were down bad. But after the hiring of Robert Saleh and an amazing group of assistant coaches, there finally seems to be a little bit of hope in New Jersey. Joe Douglas and company have a clean slate with money to spend and enough draft picks to turn around this depraved franchise in a matter of years. So the question now is, how do they do it? Hello, everybody. I'm Jack Smith from The Cold Hard Truth, where we bring you the cold hard truth on everything football. In this video, I'm going to be going over an entire mock offseason for the New York Jets, including team re-signings, free agent contracts, as well as a mock draft. If this interests you, please go down and hit the subscribe button for more NFL content, as well as hit the like button to help this video out, and leave a comment letting me know what you would do if you were Joe Douglas and the rest of the New York Jets front office. But without further ado, let's look at exactly what the Jets are working with in free agency. According to overthecap.com, the Jets have just above $63 million in cap space, but I believe they should cut Henry Anderson, a player who just simply hasn't worked out for them, and so it'll save them $8.2 million, bringing out the total number of cap space to about $71 million. Then the Jets will have to work out who they will be re-signing from the team from last year, and there's one big player that the Jets need to think about bringing back, and that's safety and team captain Marcus Maye. Marcus Maye won the team MVP last year after a stellar season taking over for Jamal Adams, and I have the Jets bringing him back at a contract for 4 years worth $44 million, similar to LaMarcus Joyner's contract that he got a couple of years back. I believe it was 2 years ago. So I believe that's very good money for Marcus Maye for the type of safety he is, and with the market and what it's worth, he's getting a little bit older. He's not old yet, but he's getting a little bit older. I believe this brings him to his age 31 season. So that's a great deal for the Jets for Marcus Maye, similar to what the safety market is. So 4 years, $44 million. The Jets get their team captain and team MVP back. Next, I think the Jets should look in to bring a couple of players back on some shorter term deals. I think Brashad Perryman should be brought back, a wide receiver that they gave a prove it deal to last year, who hasn't exactly proved it yet. So they give him another one for 1 year, $6 million. I also think they should bring back Brian Poole, one of the top slot corners in the league, give him a 1 year deal for $7 million. Let him stick around for at least one more year. I think Pat Elflein, who might have been a find at guard, they should give a 1 year, $1 million contract to. And finally, Patrick Owasso, a linebacker we really didn't get to see last year, but who has a lot of potential and who could make this team great, is a 2 year, $3 million contract. So they bring back 5 of their biggest in-house free agents, and I think that's a good move by them. Marcus Maye, you got to bring back, and these other 4 guys, I think you bring them back on shorter deals to see if you have something there. Don't tie them up long term, but give them money, give them a couple years, see what you have. I think these are 5 great contracts that the Jets should and will do this offseason. Then when we get onto the open market, this is where the Jets can address a lot more needs that they have, because they have a lot of cap room. And hey, with Robert Saleh now and a new quarterback probably this offseason, I think there is a lot of room for them to bring in big free agents, and guys might want to come here. The first guy I have a signing is 4 years, $80 million for Allen Robinson, a wide receiver from the Chicago Bears. Robinson has been an absolute stud for the Bears the last couple of years, and he will give the Jets a true number 1 receiver option. Pairing him with Denzel Mims and Jamison Crowder and Brashad Perryman, who we just brought back, is, I think, a great move for the New York Jets. He becomes the number 1 option for whoever the new quarterback is, whether that be a guy like Deshaun Watson, who a lot of guys want us to bring in, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, or even a Sam Darnold if he stays. He's a great number 1 option for whatever quarterback is starting for the Jets next year, and I think it's a deal that the Jets will get done, and I think they need to get done. Allen Robinson, 4 years and $80 million. Kind of in that same tier of Jets free agent signings, I have them signing Brandon Sheriff, a guard from the Washington football team, to a 3-year, $33 million contract. Sheriff is a great Pro Bowl talent at the guard position, who, is getting up there in age a little bit, but a 3-year deal is completely reasonable, and he will come and he will join an offensive line that already has Mekhi Becton, their next left tackle, and he brings in an all-pro caliber, if not Pro Bowl caliber guard for the Jets offensive line. 3 years, $33 million is a very reasonable contract. I think the Jets should really look into getting this one done, because it will help protect the next quarterback, and also pairing Sheriff with Mekhi Becton will be great for the offensive line going forward for the next, for this one, 3 years in his contract. And kind of that tier 2 of free agency, I have 2 more signings that the Jets should do. I think they should bring Quinton Dunbar in, a cornerback for the Seattle Seahawks for 2 years, $8 million. And I think they should bring in a guy like Leonard Fournette at running back for 2 years and $5 million. Dunbar is a toolsy corner with great ball skills for the Seattle Seahawks, who will be a good option at corner because the Jets desperately need corners. Dunbar can come in and compete to be that number 1 corner, if not a number 2 corner. He's a great outside guy that the Jets could bring in and have a little bit more stability, a position they've lacked for the last couple of years. And Leonard Fournette, at 2 years, $5 million, a very reasonable contract for the former top 5 pick. I think he is a great option to be a starting back this year, if not a backup if they draft someone, but also a 2-year deal will allow him to be a veteran mentor to whoever they draft or whoever else they bring in. And so he's able to be a starter this year as well as a mentor next year. And even if he's relegated to backup duties, we've seen what he can do in Tampa Bay as a great backup running back. 2 years, $5 million for him, and 2 years, $8 million for Quinton Dunbar are 2 great deals that I want the Jets to get done. Finally, in the final tier of free agents, 3 more signings. I think they should sign Raekwon McMillan for 1 year and $1 million to be linebacker depth, as well as a possible starter at the linebacker position. I think they should bring in Andy Dalton to be a backup quarterback, as well as a mentor to the next quarterback for 1 year and $3 million. I think they should bring in veteran pass rusher Everson Griffin for 1 year, $2.5 million to be an edge threat possibly for the Jets, even if he ends up being depth. He's a veteran presence who can teach the guys. He's got some great tools at pass rushers. He's only a couple years removed from being among the top pass rushers in the league. So there are 3 small deals that I think the Jets can get done and who I have in this mock offseason. So the Jets have cut some players, they've re-signed some players, and now they've signed some players in free agency. They filled a hole at wide receiver. They filled a possible hole at offensive line. They filled some holes at linebacker and corner, possibly edge, but they haven't filled the quarterback position yet. And I want to address some of the trade rumors that Deshaun Watson could come to the Jets. And in this mock offseason, I decided not to go with that because I think it's a little bit unrealistic. I think Deshaun Watson will inevitably be traded to the NFC, as much as I'd love to see Watson in a Jets uniform. Hey, I'm a Sam Darnold fan. I really hope Sam Darnold stays with the Jets because I love watching him play. I've been a fan of him since he was at USC, where I want to go to college, and a team I've rooted for my entire life. But Deshaun Watson would be an absolute blessing for the New York Jets franchise, but I think the Texans either going to keep him and not trade him, or they're going to trade him to the NFC so they don't have to face him as often. So I know Jets fans, you want to hear that in this mock offseason, I've got the Deshaun Watson trade happening, but I just don't think it happens for the New York Jets. And so they move into the draft. They have all of their picks. They have 2 first-rounders, they have a second-rounder, and they have 2 third-rounders. That's what I'm going to be doing for my mock draft here. And to start off the mock draft, the Jets do grab their eventual quarterback successor to Sam Darnold, and that is going to be quarterback Zach Wilson out of BYU. I've done a complete scouting report for Zach Wilson on this channel, which you guys can see up here. I'll link it up here and put it in the description, but I was very high on Zach Wilson, and I said specifically at the end of that episode that if the Jets go with a quarterback with the number 2 overall pick, I would prefer it to be Zach Wilson over Justin Fields, and I'm sticking with that here. Zach Wilson is a tremendous quarterback who pairs great accuracy with tremendous arm talent and ability to make plays when the play breaks down, something that is really, really important in today's NFL. You see it from quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. All of the best quarterbacks in the NFL make plays after the play breaks down, and Zach Wilson is one of the best at that. He's coming from a small school at BYU. People question the teams he's played against, but to me, good throws are good throws, and Zach Wilson makes some amazing throws. But go check out the full scouting report I did for him up in the top right-hand corner or in the description. You guys will like what you see. I guarantee it. As Jets fans, I talk a lot about the Jets in that video, but I think the Jets go with Zach Wilson with the 2nd overall pick, and he will be the starting quarterback for the New York Jets next year. Then with the 23rd overall pick that the Jets got from the Jamal Adams trade in the 1st round, I have them selecting Patrick Jones II, a pass rusher out of the University of Pittsburgh. Now you may be saying, Jack, what are you talking about? I've never seen a mock draft that has Patrick Jones going in the 1st round. And you're right. I don't think that many people are mocking him in the 1st round right now, but I believe he is a prospect on the rise, and he will continue to rise. And the Jets need a pass rusher. And hey, when you need a pass rusher and you see a good prospect, you cannot be afraid to draft him early. I think he's rising. He might be a 1st-round talent when it's all said and done. I think he's a 1st-round talent. Whether he's drafted in the 1st round, it's yet to be seen, but the Jets go out and they grab their next big edge threat. Patrick Jones is a versatile player. He is very quick. He's explosive. He has strong hands and a great arsenal of pass rush moves. And he's a great 4-3 defensive end, which is what Robert Saleh will be running with the New York Jets. So Patrick Jones, everyone is raving about him right now, and I think he's a prospect on the rise, and I have him going to the Jets with the 23rd overall pick in the NFL draft. So the Jets get their edge threat. They've already gotten their quarterback. Time to fill some more holes in the second round. And in the second round at pick 34, I have the Jets selecting Asante Samuel Jr., a cornerback out of Florida State University, son of former cornerback Asante Samuel, who was a two-time All-Pro in the NFL. The Jets signed Quinton Dunbar earlier in this mock offseason, and they get their cornerback on the outside to pair with Dunbar and Asante Samuel Jr. He's a great outside cornerback that the Jets have desperately needed for a couple years. Tremaine Johnson was not that guy. I think they have two options now in Dunbar and Asante Samuel Jr. who can be those lockdown corners on the outside who are able to get interceptions. And look, Asante Samuel Jr. has the bloodlines, which is something that you see work out in the NFL countless times. He's got the bloodlines with his father. He obviously knows a lot about the position of playing cornerback. He's got great ball skills. He can lock down on the outside. He's quick. He's explosive. He has a ton of different traits that you want to see in a cornerback. So I have the Jets drafting him to be the other outside cornerback other than Quinton Dunbar this year. So it's a big move for the Jets, drafting him with the second overall pick in the second round. So I like the move, and that's why I went with him. Asante Samuel Jr., remember the name, Jets fans. I think he's a very, very likely player to be on the Jets next season. Now the Jets have two picks in the third round, and with the first one, I have them selecting their running back of the future, Kenneth Gainwell, out of the University of Memphis. If you talk to anyone I know, I am not a big fan of a ton of money being spent on running backs or running backs being drafted highly in the draft. So while all these mocks may have the Jets taking Travis Etienne, I would much rather them go with Gainwell here in the third round. He is, a great running back who's very versatile. He can play in the slot, but he's also a power back. He gives you everything. He's very balanced, versatile, and drafting him in the third round, I think he's a great scheme fit, which is what you need to look for in a running back. Look, I might not like taking running backs early in the draft, but if you do, you have to make sure one is a scheme fit, because I think running backs are replaceable, but if you get one that fits your scheme, you're set. And I think Gainwell will fit perfectly the Shanahan type of offense that Mike LaFleur will be bringing to the New York Jets this season as the offensive coordinator. So Gainwell, remember the name. I also think he's a player that could be on the Jets. Maybe drafted a little bit before this. Maybe I'm thinking, a little bit of wishful thinking, but Gainwell, I think, is a great fit for the Jets' new offense. And I think he's an affordable option, taking him here in the third round instead of a guy like Najee Harris or Travis Etienne in the first or early second round. And finally, with the Jets' second, third round pick, and the last one I'll be doing in this mock draft, I have them selecting safety Talanoa Hufanga out of the University of Southern California. This might be a little bit of a homer pick as I'm a USC fan, but I think Talanoa Hufanga is a tremendous talent. He won Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year this year. And look, I know a lot of people don't know his name. Maybe he's not a third round pick, but I'm telling you guys, there's something special about Talanoa Hufanga. I've watched every game that he's played so far, and he is just special. He's a hard hitter and a sure tackler who also has coverage abilities, had interceptions in 4 straight games this year for the USC Trojans. I think he is a great player. He knows what's going on around him. He's a tremendous leader. He's strong, he's physical, but he's also great in coverage. So remember the name Talanoa Hufanga. I think he's a very underrated player in this year's draft class. And he can come in and be a third safety or a little bit of linebacker depth. He can be a slot option. He can just be a versatile weapon, which I know Robert Saleh will enjoy to have on his defense. And just like that, we have gotten through the entire mock offseason. The Jets brought in some big names. They re-signed Marcus May, keeping him in-house for a couple more years. They got Allen Robinson, Brandon Sheriff, Zach Wilson, Patrick Jones, Kenneth Gainwell, Asante Samuel. There are so many names in this mock offseason that if the Jets go out and do this exact same offseason, I would be super excited for the future of this franchise, and I hope you guys would be too. Let me know down in the comment section who you would go with, who you would sign in free agency. Do you want to re-sign all the guys I re-signed? Who would you take in the NFL draft? Would you trade for Deshaun Watson? Do you think it's likely to happen? And what do you think he would go for? I want to hear everything down in the comment section. I'll make sure to get back to every single one of you. I want to have a conversation about the New York Jets or anything else football. So join in the comment section, leave a comment what you think. Also, please leave a like on the video and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want more NFL content. Thank you guys so much for watching. Go Jets, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.